Good morning and hello to the entire congregation and anybody who is joining us from far away. My name is Sheila Wybrow. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Tacoma UU congregation. We welcome all who are joining us with a longing for community, the hope for peace, and who are seeking justice. We are a diverse congregation which encourages each one who comes through our doors to find their own truth and belief. We invite all to join us in a search for meaning and community guided by reason, respect for each other, and by love. I invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Links to the video version of this service will be posted there this week, as well as on our website. You can find all of our announcements this week on our e-news, and some highlights include these programs. If you missed registering for the new 6-week adult religious exploration program, Spirituality and Aging Well, you can still register as the start date has shifted to this Tuesday, October 20th. The programs will include exploring empowering beliefs and practices for aging well. The program is limited to 12 participants, so please register as soon as possible. The program fees benefit the congregation, and there's also a scholarship option. So all are welcome to this part of this journey. For more details, please see the e-news or the link on the calendar. The monthly Race Matters discussion group continues with the Social Justice Committee on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Be sure to register in advance for materials to read prior to the meeting. Kids Chapel will return next Sunday with Nancy Slocum, but there will not be a Kids Chapel today. Later today at 4 p.m., middle schoolers and high schoolers are invited to attend Use Your Voice All About Voting with Debbie Cafazzo and Robin Hammond with special guest Phil Gardner. Students can register for this program via the link found on the church calendar. On Monday night at 7 p.m., the Infinite Cups invite you to listen or share your PG-rated stories, scary stories, at an evening of campfire ghost stories on Zoom. Families with children are welcome with accompanying adults. For all these programs and many more, look for details on all our gatherings in the weekly e-news that is posted on our church website. And you can find that link to our website in the chat. We often sing the hymn, Blue Boat Home. It's important to keep our congregational boat afloat. So we want to thank you for your ongoing financial support that makes all of this possible. The programs, our staff who create and facilitate the programs, and the connections we make through our congregation. So once again, thank you for your support. Now let us prepare to gather in worship.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be together this morning. Back on January 1st, what was on your bingo card for the year? A pandemic, a shutdown, murder hornets? How could we have known? Some we knew were possible, the earth warming, fires, and hurricanes, though probably not like this. Electoral chaos, too. We knew that was probably coming. That might have filled one square. But like every year, we don't know, we can't see where we will go or what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will tear us open, the paths unexpected that will open in front of us. Ours is in the going, in finding what is on the path and what is off the path. We come here to this community amidst the discoveries and delights, amidst the worries and the woes. We come here to find a moment of connection, a pause on the journey, a time to rest in gratitude and sorrow. It is good to be together this day.
Please ready your chalices and join me in the unison reading as Bob in our sanctuary today lights our chalice for us. You can find the words in your chat. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and the holiness of life. In honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
I like to sing, so I was muted. I always forget to get unmuted. Do you guys have that happen? I bet you do. This is our time for all ages. If we were in the sanctuary, I would be inviting everyone who was young of heart or in body to come forward to have a little bit of a chat here, a little bit of a story this morning. So I imagine the kids all coming up. If you've been in our sanctuary before and seen that, you can imagine it too. Lifts my heart. I got to see, I'll just tell you guys, I got to see a bunch of people and a lot of our kids on Friday at our talent show. And I need to tell you, it was fantastic. It was so wonderful. And we're planning another one. So watch your calendars. I encourage you to come along. It was laughter and tears and such beauty. So good. Yeah, the talent show on Zoom was just like amazing, as Libby says. So today I'm going to talk about a story, tell you a story and talk a little bit about it that comes from the Jewish Bible. And it is the story of Jonah. And most of us, when we think about the story of Jonah, we think about the belly of the whale, where Jonah wound up at some point. And I have always liked the story of Jonah, even though it's a really hard story in a lot of ways. We don't think about it as a hard story. We think of it as kind of a magical story, because who lives in the belly of a whale for, a whole bunch of time? And what would that be like anyhow? But the story of Jonah actually starts back in Jonah's hometown. And God comes to Jonah and says to Jonah, the people of Nineveh are just terrible. They are doing everything that they shouldn't do and not doing anything that they should do. And I need you, Jonah, I need you to go to them and to tell them that I am going to destroy them because they are so sinful and so terrible. And Jonah thinks about it for a moment, as most of us would, and thinks, not a chance in the world that I'm going to go do that. They won't like that. I don't want to do that. Would you want to do that? I don't want to do that. And so instead of doing what God has directed him to do, Jonah goes to the harbor and he finds a ship that is going to the furthest reaches of the world, as far away as is humanly possible to go, to the very edge of everything. And he gets aboard that boat, hoping that God won't find him there. And as the boat goes along, as it goes across the ocean, God sees where Jonah is and knows that he's not in the right place. And so he causes a great storm to blow up, and the waves are rolling and pitching back and forth and all of that. And the sailors, Jonah has a pretty good clue about what's going on here. The sailors can't figure it out, and they feel like they've been cursed for some reason. And so they start doing some fortune telling. And they're looking at, they're throwing dice, and they're looking at it, and they're trying to figure out some meaning of what is going on. Why are the waves pitching? They're going to die. They are certain of it. And it comes to light that it's probably Jonah. Jonah's probably the one who's making this happen. And they think, well, we can solve this. And they pitch him overboard. Well, he wasn't expecting that. And he wasn't expecting at that moment as well to be swallowed by a giant fish. I mean, who expects to be swallowed by a giant fish? Well, we don't hear from the story what went on while Jonah was inside that fish. But you can guess that it wasn't very pleasant. Wasn't very nice to be inside the fish. And they travel for some period of time. Jonah does not know what's going to happen to him. He doesn't know where they're going. None of that until at some moment the fish, the whale, pukes him out onto a beach. Yes, that's the word they use. Typically when people tell this story, they say spits, but that's not what it says in the Bible. It says it vomits him up onto the beach. You can imagine how disgusting that must have been for Jonah. And even more problematic, even more difficult for him was that he looked about and realized, where was he? He was in Nineveh, exactly where he didn't want to be, exactly where he didn't want to go. Oh, well, he thinks to himself, I guess I'll have to do what God asked me to do. And so he goes into the town and he begins to proclaim what God has said. He says, God's coming. God's going to destroy you. Y'all are sinful. You guys are terrible people, and you're doing everything that you're not supposed to do, and you're not doing anything that you're supposed to be doing. And he proclaims this all through the town. And somehow, kind of magically, kind of surprisingly, everybody repents. They stop doing what they aren't supposed to do. And they start doing what they're supposed to do. And as they make this change in their lives, they're also regretting the things that they have and haven't done. They start mourning about how awful things were. And everyone is doing this all the way up to the king, which isn't what anybody expected. I mean, that's not what was supposed to happen. And God looks at this and says, wow, that's really different. That wasn't what I expected. So they've repented. They have decided to live a good life and to do the right kinds of things, to care for each other. You know, we know what it means to live a good life. And he doesn't kill them. He doesn't destroy them. He decides that it's all okay. Now, Jonah, watching all of this, isn't happy. I mean, he is not happy about this, right? He didn't want to come here in the first place. He's now come here. He's done what he was supposed to do. And God is not keeping God's word. God said everybody was going to die, but everybody isn't dying. He had to do all this for no reason. This was, I mean, I would have been unhappy too. I have to say, I would not have been happy about this. And so he goes off, leaves the town, disgusted, angry, and goes and sits underneath a bush in the shade, just to be as angry as he wanted to be. And God makes the bush, makes the tree die. And so he's even in more misery. Now, people like to think about this story as a story about the possibility of people changing. And I like that part of it. I like that people changed into something different, who decided to live their lives in different ways. And we always have to make room for that, for even people who've done wrong things to us. We have to make room for it. And it also shows that God can be a little mean sometimes. And maybe it feels that way in our lives too. And sometimes things go wrong and go differently than we want it to. We wind up at home for all the time instead of being able to see our friends and go to school and go to work. sometimes it kind of feels that way. And it's okay to feel like that. That's the message I would give you. It's not the message in the story, but that's the message I will tell you, because that's what life is like sometimes. And we just have to remember it's all right to feel the way we do, to be who we are. And it's also really important for us to be living the lives that we think are best to live by doing what is right and not doing what is wrong. And that's my story about Jonah for today. And I'm going to sing you our song that we sing when the children leave for their classes. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. May all be well. And now, next in our service, we have a special message from Debbie Cafazzo about our mini stewardship drive that is coming up.
Hi, I'm Debbie Cafazzo. Many of you might know me as a member of the TUUC board, others as a longtime member of the congregation. Like you, I've felt the weight of calamity that's rattled our world, threatening to turn us all into inward-gazing hermits. But I'm trying hard to resist those feelings. TUUC has helped link me to the outside world, and that's why I plan to contribute to the stewardship drive that you'll be hearing more about in the coming days. Through TUUC's Social Justice Committee, I connected with the Vote Forward effort, which involves crafting personal messages about the importance of voting and mailing those messages to voters in other states. I'm inviting our RE middle schoolers and teens, our hope for the future, to join me in learning about why voting matters and how they can prepare to be active citizens. This summer, I took part in an eye-opening online series on our UU sources, taught by Arian, our ministerial intern. She's both a theological and technological treasure. We'll miss her when her internship ends. I've seen Linda's ability to lead and touch us deeply, Libby's communication and administrative work, Nancy's storytelling and RE organizing efforts, as well as contributions from our behind-the-scenes staffers. I know that someday, who knows when, this pandemic and political nightmare will end. Until that day comes, we need your financial help to help sustain our beloved community. The thing that keeps me going is knowing that when this is over, my TUUC community will still be here for me and for you. You'll be hearing soon from our stewardship committee. Please think about how you can contribute, because our spiritual lives depend on it. Thank you.
Oops. Now is the time where we offer our monetary gifts to the work of this congregation. Like Debbie said, the money we give is an integral part in keeping our staff who work tirelessly to keep our community strong and keep our building running during these volatile and unprecedented times. Even though we are physically apart, our gifts are stronger together. You can text or click the link in the chat to make a contribution. Please now join me in the unison reading that you can find also in your chat. We dedicate ourselves to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
My friends, I invite you to pause now for a time of quiet and reflection. We'll begin with words from Jan Richardson, and then pause in stillness with one another. Let us center in and quiet ourselves. To all there is that is chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, the stilling of the voices that have laid their claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you even to the holy places, but will not let you rest, will not let you hear your life with wholeness or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come to an end what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening in the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you find the peace you did not think possible and see what shimmers within the storm. Let us pause for a moment or two of stillness, a time of breathing easy. So may it be. Amen.
Our first reading today comes from Rudy Francisco, a poem called Welcome. So I've never caught a live grenade with my bare hands, so I don't know exactly how it feels, but I imagine it's a lot like getting a text that says, "Hey, we need to talk." The last time I received one of these messages, I called immediately, and she said, "I'm going into labor." My initial thought was, I don't know much about unions, but that seems like a good idea. Before I could actually say that, she continues with, "I know I should have told you sooner. We're having a baby. Can you come to the hospital?" And that is how I found out I was becoming a father. Most men have 9 months to get ready for something like this, but I had about 9 hours. I tried to smile in my first family photo, but complete shock was still the only outfit my face could squeeze into. After the picture was taken, I looked down at my little girl and I said, "Welcome to the family. Wow, you sure know how to make an entrance."
Thank you, Jonina. Back in late July, Lin-Manuel Miranda tweeted out this short bit of verse. "Good morning. Holy schneeky. Look at us. The floor is lava. The bathroom seems miles away, but we are laughing. And we will leap across the furniture, dance around the day's hazards, and get where we are going with slight detours. God is in the detours. Let's go." Now, for those of you who may not follow him on Twitter, you probably don't know or may not know that he has a practice with Twitter, tweeting out good morning when he begins his social media day and good night when he ends it. He produced actually a whole book of good morning and good night tweets, and it is full of bits of encouragement and mindfulness that you can have for your own if you so desire. I took this tweet as a bit of a sign, a small placard there to remind us of something that I knew was true. God is in the detours. That was just what I needed to hear at that moment, and what I thought you all might need to hear too. But first, I had to figure out if he'd gotten just who was in the details, in the detours, God or the devil. Because I've heard that phrase, God is in the detail, both as God and as the devil. And I'd be curious if you all want to enter in chat. I'll go back and look at it again after I've finished preaching. But where have you found God or the devil? I mean, which is in the details for you? It's an interesting little question I wanted to ask. Now, I'm pretty sure that I first learned this in seminary. Someone had told me that God was in the details. I understood that to mean that as we look at creation and at our lives, in the smallest moments, we can find something of wonder and divinity, something of the most holy present in the midst of everything that happens. It might be seeing the marvels of life in the smallest of details, perhaps. It's like when you find out that the mantis shrimp, do you know about this thing? It is amazing. The mantis shrimp, unlike us humans, has 16 color receptors. We only have 3. It has 16. Now that is some detail. I find myself marveling and wondering at the evolutionary purpose that particular attribute served, how it was more helpful to be able to see all that beauty and wonder out there in the world. It is wild what this world offers us, isn't it? God in those details. But then sometime later, I was helping out my friend Ken as he was preparing for a party of some sort. All the details I've lost for me right now. He was fretting about something, about finding the right platter that he wanted to put something on, or where he had stored a particular tablecloth that was essential for this party, and exclaimed that the devil was in the details, and it was clearly vexing him entirely. Getting it all right, setting the perfect table, the right spoon to serve the cranberry sauce, all of it. The devil is that bit that is hard to get just right, is what I heard from him when he exclaimed it. And we need to find that small detail to make sure that everything is as it needs to be. Now, these two perceptions may have something to do with the fact that Ken, a flamboyant gay man who bears within himself his farm wife mother, Ken was raised as a devout Calvinist, and I was raised as a Universalist. Now that may have something to do with those two perspectives. And I know too, though, that Ken, while still a dedicated Presbyterian, has a home altar that contains sacred objects that cross the boundaries of the religion of his birth to encompass a wide and embracing spirituality. And I know that he holds both of these ideas, both of these understandings with ease. God there in the details, and the devil as well. I know that about him. But my question is, what do you see in the detours? What do you see in the detours? Taking Lin-Manuel's phrasing, recognizing that the detours we take are taking, who is in, what is in the detours in this strange time? You know, the stories that we tell about this time will show what we thought about the detours we're taking. And importantly, we get to frame those stories even as we are living them. And I want to be very clear about what I'm saying when I say that we get to frame those stories. As many of you surely know, I am not the kind of everything is beautiful kind of person. I know there is real and deep harm in the world, real damage that can be done to us. I know that loss is hard, loss of loved ones to death or debilitating disease or to political difference is painful and grief is real. There is trauma all around us. Seems especially now. I'll never tell you to look only on the bright side instead of seeing all the awfulness that there actually is. And all of us, no matter how optimistic and sunny, are having to make sense of living through circumstances we couldn't have imagined a year ago. Couldn't have imagined where we are. And it's all too much, just all too much. We've expended all of our initial surge of energy and resources and have to keep on with all of the social distancing, all this isolating, all the working from home, managing our home life and all of that. And there is no end to this pandemic in sight. And let's not get started. Don't get me started on the political chaos that is engaging all of us, I suspect, right now. We are all on detours that we could not have imagined and would never have chosen. We are coping, mostly. We are managing, mostly. We are getting through, mostly. Doing what we can, definitely. Part of religious or spiritual life is to find meaning and to make sense of our lives, to frame the events in our lives with meaning. Loss happens, yeah. But it only happens and it only evokes grief because we have loved. We wouldn't have ever given up our precious loved ones. Loss happens. The world is chaotic. But there are actions that we can take to help out, to make it at least a little better. Laura gave thanks for all the people who helped with the Vote Forward initiative that happened yesterday. And I trust that as your ballots are arriving, each of you have your plan for voting and you're getting it done. There's other stuff that we can do too. And you know this, giving donations to organizations that are helping to make things better, reaching out to friends, finding laughter in the absurdity of a moment, feeling the kindness of others. There's so much of it out there. So much of it out there. Our story reminds me, our story this morning reminds me every time I hear it or tell it, that the God of that story is a bit of, well, you'll pardon my saying so, but a bit of a jackass who seems both capricious and mean. And goodness sakes, don't you feel more than a little of that this year? I mean, really, murder hornets. I mean, seriously. And then there's also Rudy Francisco's story of becoming a father in what was for him an instant. That story lets us see a different side of the detours we get taken on, ones that open us to love and wonder, however unexpectedly. So I suppose that the truth of all of this is that both God and the devil are in the detours that we are forced to take, because our lives are, of course, both beautiful and magic and filled with loss and hard times too. We are living through times that may seem to be framed particularly and governed by Jonah's God. But Rudy's story is wound into all of this too. Babies come into the world with that message of hope and promise and possibility. Beloved people die along the way, and we remember the love and grace and beauty that they offered to the world and to us. And we keep stumbling along as best we can. So let us, my friends, in these detours, the detours of these days, spot where the holy arrives. Keep reminding ourselves of the beauty of the color of the leaves and the soft rain that is a blessing even or especially now. And my friends, let us keep going through it all, singing, sighing, loving, trying, and doing the best we can. We just got to keep going on. And we are blessed always to be going on with each other. So may it be. We are at that time in our service when we pause in reflection to set an intention for how we shall go out into the world and out into this week. I invite you to pause, breathe, and set your intention. My friends, our bingo cards are being filled in day on day on day. And so many detours. There are so many detours. We cannot know what will come up for us as time passes. But let us decorate those cards, those bingo cards, with what beauty and love we find. Let us decorate them with the happy surprises and the wonder that accompany us on our way. May it be so for you and for all of us. Amen, and blessed be.
Please join me in the unison reading that you can find in your chat as Bob in our sanctuary extinguishes our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.